listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels.
Hey, Faith, I got a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
It is actually a listener question. This
Okay.
is not my question. It's important to everyone who's read the title that you've got that listener question part, because this isn't my question. But listener Steven sent this in, and thank you, listener Steve. Am I a chaser? So this is Steve's story. A while back, I met this girl online and we started dating. A couple dates in, she tells me she's trans. She was scared out of her mind, thinking she was signing the death warrant for our then budding relationship. I was totally okay with it, and so we continued dating. We shortly thereafter ended up in the bedroom, and at the danger of being crass, dare I say, it was probably one of the best experiences I've had in that department. Cool, Stephen. As time went on, our relationship devolved for reasons unrelated and came to an end, but left me more sexually open and interested, so I tried my hand at dating men, since they share some of the parts that were fun, but I didn't like it, because as it turns out, I'm not into men. While I still very much enjoy cis women as well, I think I've grown a preference towards trans women. I definitely think I go out of my way to be respectful and a gentleman to anyone I date, regardless of where they are on the spectrum. Does this make me a chaser? And if so, do I just stop attempting to date trans folks? So what do you think? Would you go out with Steve?
Would I go
Steven?
out with Steve? I'm not male attracted.
Correct. So
It
no.
would, so it would depend.
Right.
Yeah. So Steven's sort of had a good relationship or a good experience with a trans woman and wants to kind of recapture that.
Yes.
And let's unpack that for a second.
Okay.
Because he talks specifically about what went on in the bedroom and then said, well, I'm going to go date dudes after this, or at least try to, and see how that goes. Which makes me think, no, and then he's like, well, dudes doesn't quite do it. It's just trans women.
Because he's not interested in men. Yeah.
He's not interested in men.
He's interested in women.
Exactly. But it's trans women specifically, and that makes me think that it's heading into fetish territory, or because you're specifically, I think, looking for, and let's be honest here, he's talking about junk.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't go, if it was just a trans woman who was like, who had GRS or something like that, you wouldn't necessarily go, well, it's dudes.
Yeah.
But the fact that you went to dudes and like, dudes doesn't quite do it because you like someone more feminine, but you still want
You want junk. Okay.
you want the boy junk, or you want the XY junk.
Yeah.
Or however we want to say that.
The conventionally male associated genitals.
Yes.
Okay.
That, to me, is chasery.
But why?
Well,
Like, it's not... And I know we had our chaser episode, and one of my questions was, hello, husband material. Like, it's perfect. He likes to date women, and he likes a penis in the bedroom, in addition to his. So you're saying there's too much focus on the penis? Is that it?
That's part of it. But
Okay.
I would say, earning that reputation as a chaser is less about who you're attracted to and more about how you behave toward people.
Of course.
And it's basic human decency.
Of course.
It's just treating people well. And, Stephen talks about that a little bit, trying to treat people respectfully. And everyone has types.
Of course.
Pretty much everyone has a type. When I met you, you were like, you're tall and skinny and blonde. And I'm like, it's not necessarily my type, but tall and skinny are. Blonde is okay. Actually, I have no hair color preference. It's really...
Great.
Yeah.
Gotta have tall and skinny, though, apparently.
No, I don't have to. I've dated people of all kinds. I've dated very short people.
It's okay to have a type.
It's just saying there is a type. But if Steven met a girl and had a great time with her and she was like, your name Steven is so wonderful. I really like the name Steven. I only ever date guys with the name Steven. The question is, would you like that?
So what you're saying is it's a thing you have no control over that this person is really emphasizing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what about the rest of me? Is that it?
Yeah.
Like they like something probably to the exclusion of everything else they're not really attending to.
Like, it's okay to have a type, but you can't make your attraction about nothing but that type. Like, I don't care if this person's a horrible Nazi, as long as they are
named Steven,
or as long as they're, tall and skinny. I don't care if they're a Nazi and they have no teeth. Like, that gets into fetishy.
So it's having one feature that is the thing, and that is the engine of your attraction over regardless of everything else.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
So someone wouldn't be a chaser if they're still looking for someone nice and smart and funny and sexy and has a job that makes the world a better place and is trans. Like, is someone who that's their type?
Yeah, or just happens to be trans and they're okay with that. But I think the moment you set out a personal ad that's like, I'm looking for trans women, or I'm looking for blonde women, or I'm looking for whatever, it's kind of weird. I think that limiting it to that type of person is kind of odd. And then saying that, hey, I want a trans woman, but only someone who hasn't had GRS specifically is kind of like, I'm looking for a woman with these particular genitals.
Yeah.
And that's weird. No one wants to go into a partnership or, potential date situation where you're like, this person's really likes me and is interested in me because of my junk.
Yeah. I mean, so let me try to suss this out, because like we were saying, some people have a type. And there are some guys who only date Asian girls. Or there are women who only date black guys. Or who only date, I don't know, people of their same religion. Or only date people who are taller than them. Some women only date guys taller than them. Like, everyone has a preference, but in those cases, I wouldn't, even if it's like kind of creepy, like the guy who only dates Asian girls.
Yeah.
Like, really? That's it? There's a lot of other women out there, but okay. Even in those cases, I wouldn't assume that they're gonna date any jerk, evil, hateful, inattentive, lazy, stupid person who just meets that one qualifier. I would hope not. Their life would be hard otherwise.
But that's where you draw, that's the question, is where do you draw the line between type and fetish?
Yeah.
And I would say that if Steven's first thought is, I want someone of this particular type of person because that's going to satisfy me in the bedroom, then you're looking at a person as one attribute of their personality and as a sex object, really.
I could see that. Yeah. So it's not chasery if Steven just dates women who he meets, however, and some of them will happen to be trans women and some of them won't, but he's looking at the whole package. He's looking at nice and smart and we get along and my friends like her and her friends like me, and if it's all part of that, that's not chasery.
That's not chasery.
Okay.
Again, if someone happens to be trans and you find yourself attracted to them and they're trans, that's awesome. Try that out. See what happens. But if you're like specifically going out there and looking for trans women and specifically a certain type of trans woman, that is like legit chaser behavior. You can be nice about it, but you're still kind of a chaser because you're basing your interest in people on one specific attribute of who they are. And
not even something they have any control over.
No. And that's kind of like saying you're not going to date someone because they don't have blue eyes. It's kind of like, it's okay to meet someone and they happen to have blue eyes.
Yes.
But to say you're specifically looking for that and you're not going to be satisfied or happy with anyone else, it's tricky because, like, the question, I think there's a subsequent question from here, which is, how do you, I mean, if you are attracted, there's a subsequent question here that's, like, kind of underlies this whole thing, which is being attracted to trans women always a fetish?
Right.
And I think the answer is, if you're attracted to women and you think, oh, she's trans and that's cool, I'm cool with that. That's not a fetish.
Okay.
If you are specifically attracted to them because they're trans and only because they're trans, that's a fetish.
So would you say the difference, like the easy way to diagnose it, is, do you seek out trans women? Yes or no? Okay.
If you seek out trans women, you are a chaser.
Okay.
Plain and simple. That is the definition. Now, the reason that this name exists and this reputation exists is because there are a lot of creepy guys who behave this way. That doesn't mean that every guy who happens to have a fetish for trans women is necessarily creepy or a bad person.
Okay.
Not necessarily. They could be very awesome, amazing people who cure cancer for children and donate blood and all kinds of good stuff.
Right.
But they happen to have this fetish. People have fetishes.
Fetishes are fine. Yes.
Some people's fetishes are acts, or situations or things like that. But when your fetish is a type of person or an attribute of a person, that's where it gets crazy. I've read things where amputees deal with this all the time as well.
Oh, God. Okay.
And I'm sure other groups of people, I'm sure little people or, any other group of people have to deal with this as well.
Yeah.
I read an article, it was actually on cracked.com, and it was a woman who lost her legs and, talked about dealing with amputee stuff. And, like, apparently she was just constantly having to deal with people, like, requesting nude photos and like soliciting her, and she was like 17 at the time, something. And it was like
people suck.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of and again, not to say that every person who has an amputee fetish is a bad person. It's just that some of them are, and that kind of gets the reputation for the
ruins it for everyone. All right.
So the way you deal with fetishes is there are certain fetish communities that helps probably with situations or articles of clothing or, there's tons of fetishes out there. When your fetish is a person or a type of person, there's a thing for that, and it's called pornography.
Yeah.
And pornography exists for these type of fetishes. There's a whole world of transgender women in pornography. I sort of have mixed feelings about that because I know some people who do adult films, including trans adult films. And it's so funny because they're always like very different from their persona.
I see.
Not to shatter the porn illusion for anyone, but they're not always like super horny. It's just their persona. There's pornography for that. So I would say get your rocks off at home with some porn.
And then go out and be a normal person who dates normal people.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what it's for. That's for dealing with a fetish. It's not something you want to base relationships on.
Well, it's sort of interesting. I remember from the TV show Her Story, starring Jen Richards, link down below. I liked it a lot. One of the first scenes is she's on Craigslist, back when there were Craigslist personals. And there is M seeking W, W seeking M, and there's also M seeking T, T seeking W, W seeking T, things like that. Like, Craigslist had decided to separate the categories that way. And it makes me think, for someone who would have been doing their dating on Craigslist, which I've never done, and you can't do it anymore, and there are many reasons for that, but someone who is looking to date men or women wouldn't even go to the looking for T section necessarily. And so those people who are just looking for a date are sort of segregated, or you could just put your ad in, women seeking women and go with that and explain it on the third date, however it goes. But it's that extra layer of complication, of separation, of difference.
Yeah.
That it's got to be rough on the dating life of trans women and trans men.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why this epithet chaser is kind of so despised within especially trans women, is because there's that constant unwanted attention. Cis women deal with this too. And it's like, so when there is, like, say, a really nice volunteers at the puppy shelter, etc. guy who happens to have this fetish, who goes and decides that they're going to try and hit on people, hit on trans women, it's gonna just get in that cloud. And even if you are, your good intentions will be obscured again by the bad people. And no one wants to be in that situation of getting unwanted, being chased. Granted, there are some trans women, just like there's some people in other groups who might get turned on by something like that.
Sure.
And
fetish
again,
is a fetish.
Again, there's like fetish stuff for that. There's like, go find it. But again, I'm
not going to give you links.
I'm not going to give you links. That's mostly going to be, online. But there can be like a flirtiness, with that. There might be some people who kind of get off on that. And again, this is a fetishized activity.
Yeah.
This isn't like you're looking for a relationship. If you want to bring a fetish into a relationship later, yeah, that's something you can do. But a fetish
But whatever your fetish is should be seen as like an extra bonus if the person you happen to be dating happens to be that.
Yes.
Or have that. Or look that way.
Exactly.
You should be treating the people you date as human beings, not as vectors for your fantasy.
Yes. And that is exactly what this is.
Okay.
No one wants to be treated like an object. No one wants to be pursued by someone who comes out at the very beginning and says, I am going to treat you like an object. Granted, some people like being treated like objects as a fetish, and there's a whole community for that. Go find that.
We're not talking about that right now.
We're not linking it. We're not linking.
And no links.
No links.
Not that we disapprove. We just don't want to do the research.
No.
So, no kink shaming here.
No kink shaming.
So, it's just a matter of someone like Steven getting out there and dating cis women, trans women, everyone in between, because he doesn't like dating males, and see who you find. You'll find someone awesome, probably, and I think there's an element of being Fonzie about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're dating someone of a different religion or a different race, or who looks dramatically different from you, super short or super tall or something like that, you don't talk about it on the first couple of dates.
No.
You're just getting to know the person.
Yeah.
Along with or despite or whatever these other features are. You get to know what movies they like and how their job is and where they like to hang out in your city. Like, talk to the person.
Yeah.
And maybe on the third date you can say something like, it's got to be hard to buy trousers if you're that tall.
Yeah.
Yes, they know all the tall jokes. They know, can we please not talk about it, please? It's just part of them. But it's not their whole thing.
It's not.
And if it's your fetish, you just got to be Fonzie. You just got to resist talking about it.
Exactly. I will say one thing.
Go.
One thing only. And that is, this is one, and if you follow this or do anything like this, I'm going to say you'd better be one of the nice guys. But here's the secret, okay? I will say the secret. If you happen to be like Steven and you find a trans girl that you like, and you're like, that was fun, I would date another trans girl, be the most awesome and amazing partner that you can be to that trans woman. And then if the relationship goes sour for whatever reason, and you're not a jerk about it, trans women have trans women friends. And you will probably get along with one of them, and maybe you can ask them on a date. That's the only way.
Hey.
That is the only way, and if you ever do that, you better be really fucking nice.
But you can't date your ex's friends?
You can.
It takes a conversation.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that is the only way that is ever going to happen. And I'm saying that situation could exist.
Have that conversation, though. Don't.
Yeah.
Because then you're just a bull in a china shop rowing through all of her friends.
I think you can. I think that depends on the friend group.
Of course.
I've known lots of friend groups that are like
loose acquaintances.
Loose acquaintances, or what's the word I'm looking for? I've known a lot of friend groups that are like a square dance. It's like everyone switch partners now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah,
depends. And those were cis people that I know of.
You guys need some fresh water in your social pool.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So there are situations where friends get a little incestuous, so to speak. The truth is, just treat people like a normal.
Treat people like people.
Being. Yeah. They are human beings. Trans women, trans men, non-binary people. Everyone on the awesome rainbow of fun is a human being with real human emotions. They are as complex as anyone else. Treat them well, and you are going to have a fun time with those people who may or may not be in your life. Set out at first to be the best partner you can.
Yeah, be an interesting person and have hobbies and listen to people, and that gets you 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
Looks help too. I wish they didn't. They do.
But treat people well. Just be a nice person. You'd be surprised, you know.
Be interesting and be interested in people.
And see your potential partners as something other than that one particular thing.
Try not to get hung up on your fetish, and that can really derail your dating life.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
I don't want to be too down on fetishes, but sometimes I feel like maybe fetishes can cross the line into unhealthy territory.
Sure.
Like any compulsion.
Of course.
Or hobby, so to speak.
Oh, God. A hobby or a compulsion.
You can have a very nice model railroad, but when you're treating people like, what model railroad components can you get for me?
Yeah. All right, it has all become very clear to me.
Then, that's the difference.
Okay.
People are more than what model railroad cars they can give you.
All right. Well, thanks, Faith. That's helpful.
Yeah, I hope
it's good to know. I hope we helped some of our listeners, and treat people like people. That's all you have to do.
Stephen, don't look for trans women. Just look for awesome women.
Just look for awesome women. Some of them might be trans. Most of them won't be, statistically. But you'll find the right one. I believe in it.
And even if you don't find another trans girl ever in your life, go on a few dates with an awesome girl. Get to the point where you're like trying fun stuff in the bedroom. Boom, strap-ons. That's a thing. So just you can do that. That can get your fetish off without treating people like objects.
Yes. Just treat that object like an object. All you have to do.
And again, that's play. That's fetish play within a healthy relationship. That's not treating people as a fetish object.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope that's helpful for everyone.
I hope so.
I'm just going to say one thing. We talked about pornography. Who is it? Who was the, was it YouPorn or Pornhub or someone finally got rid of
Might have been
she-mail
YouPorn.
YouPorn.
Yeah.
Good on them for finally getting rid of she-mail.
They got rid of the terminology. They did not get rid of the product.
Not get rid of the product.
Transgender.
Started calling it transgender, which is
pornography.
A huge leap forward for the porn industry.
It certainly is. Well done.
Not often known for its class.
No. Rare.
It's rare
event. Let's savor this moment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, everyone.
We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels.
We have many different levels of support and lots of great rewards,
including drinks with the Gender Rebels at Stonewall.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That makes it easier for other people to find us.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com. Or find us on Twitter @TheGenderRebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
The Gender Rebels is a Come Back Sync production, copyright 2018. All rights reserved.
And to all you gender rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
Bye.